Hello and welcome to Frost Over the World, back from the trip to New York and Washington. Later in this programme, a bruising fallout among Russian oligarchs, union militancy in Europe, actress Tara Fitzgerald, and the stock market trader whose stark honesty made him an internet star and drove other people berserk. But first of all, Cote d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast. Earlier this year, the West African country was gripped by a civil war as Laurent Gbagbo, who'd lost last year's elections, refused to accept the result and clung on to power. It was a bloody battle, over 1,000 dead. But in the end, with French help, the election's winner, Alassane Ouattara, managed to capture Gbagbo, defeat his forces, and take control. But what a fascinating life he's had, from being a managing director of the IMF to being plunged back into the middle of one of the most savage civil wars you could imagine. An amazing life story. But where does that leave such a deeply divided country? Before we left New York, I met Alassane Ouattara. The Guardian, after you assumed power earlier this year, they said about you that you found yourself, quote, with one of the most unenviable presidential intrays of all time, with a politically and militarily divided country, half destroyed by civil war, an economy starved of investment, and donors who've stayed away for more than a decade.
Yes.
That sounds a pretty tough situation to be in.
No, it's true. It's true that, well, I wanted to bring contribution to my country, so it was my choice to go in politics after having been Deputy Managing Director of the IMF for 5 years. But above all, the people of Cote d'Ivoire, my compatriots, trusted me and elected me with a very large majority, more than 54% of the votes. I found a country which had been mismanaged, corruption, no rule of law, a lot of disorder, military completely divided, and leaders who didn't care about the population. They just thought that being president or minister was to take care of themselves and their family rather than taking care of the country. So I have a challenge, and we're working very hard at that, and I'm determined to make sure that these 5 years of my presidency will bring more to the Ivorian people, more prosperity, and I hope also a better country.
And with the situation of the north being predominantly Muslim and the south more Christian and so on, and the divisions, do you think you can ever unite your nation, or do you think in the end there will have to be two separate small countries?
No. There is no. That's not an issue for Ivorians. It's true that the north is largely Muslim, but the south is not mostly Christian. I think 40 to 50% of the population in the south is also Muslim. So both Muslims and Christians have lived together in total harmony. The past 10 years, the former president did everything to divide the country, to divide the population, and I think my election is really the confirmation that the Ivorian people do not want this type of division.
But at the same time, of course, he resisted. Everybody said that the vote had voted you as the new president.
Yes.
But for many months, he held on to power, didn't he? And in the end, the French captured him and handed him over to you.
No, that's not how it happened.
I thought you disputed that, but what did happen? Not the French.
Not the French. It's the army composed of young people from the north who came down to Abidjan, to the capital. In 3 days, they took over all the country. And when they arrived in the capital, the former president had a lot of militias and a lot of mercenaries, so a battle engaged. And he was using heavy weapons to kill people in Abidjan, especially people in certain districts when he thought that those were not supporting him. And that's when the UN passed a resolution to destroy heavy weapons and to protect the civilian population. So that's how things happen. And of course, my army, the Northern Army, was able to take over and to chase him away.
And where is he now?
He's in a house. He should have been in prison because he's been indicted for corruption, for use of public funds, abuse of public funds, and but for the dignity of the function he has held, and also for consideration of his status as a former president. Instead of being in a jail, he is in a house.
And you've talked of having a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, as happened in, for instance, South Africa and so on.
Yes.
Will he be called before that? I mean,
Yes.
could he end up in prison?
Well, normally he's in prison, as I said,
Yeah.
but he's in a house guarded by paramilitary. Now, the Dialogue, Truth and Reconciliation Commission will listen to whomever they want to listen to, so that's up to them. But at the same time, we have appealed to the International Criminal Court to look into this case. And eventually, they could take him away for trial. That would have my preference, because there is crime against humanity. He has killed people, war crimes. So clearly for us, if we were to be judged in Cote d'Ivoire, everyone would find him guilty. And we will be accused of not having had a fair trial. I want a fair trial for him, and that's why I've asked the ICC to look into his case. So I do hope that they'll accept to investigate and to pass a judgment, whatever it is.
And what will you do in terms of the Truth and Reconciliation, Mr. President? What about if there are people who are members of your side,
Yes.
who are accused
Yes.
of murder or theft
Yes.
or whatever?
Yes.
Will they also be?
Oh yeah, they have to go to trial.
Yeah.
We cannot have impunity or two categories of Ivorians. I think it's important that this Truth and Reconciliation Council Commission gives us their version of what happened. But I've set up also a National Commission of Inquiry that has 6 months to do its work. And they will give us their conclusions. And if they do determine that people on my side have killed, those people will be judged, and I'm sure that then they will go to jail. There will be no exception.
You mentioned earlier that your five-year term as president and so on. Would you plan to stand again at the end of that 5 years, perhaps continue?
No, you know, it's too early to, it's not just, it's not a political language, let me be clear. But, you know, I left a very comfortable job when I left the IMF. I wanted to bring my contribution to lifting up my country. I will see what happens in 5 years. If I'm very successful and I don't think my country needs me anymore and I have to have someone to take over, I certainly will support a person. But if I consider that it's necessary for me to continue, I will continue. But in any case, I will not do more than 2 terms, because our Constitution limits the the length of power of a president to 2 terms.
Well, maybe Mr. Didier Drogba will have completed his football career, and he might be available.
Well, why not? Didier Drogba or some others. As you're aware, Didier Drogba is on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and we expect him to bring a lot. Not only because people like him, but he is of the same part of the country as the former president. And everyone knows that he is a person who is wise, who is intelligent, and who is devoted to peace.
Mr. President, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
The Bank of England announces it's pumping in another £75 billion into the banking system to kickstart Britain's economy. Well, that's what they're hoping anyway. Strikes in Greece are bringing the country to a standstill, and Belgian-French bank Dexia is looking for a rescue plan as its shares fall to an all-time low. Yes, it's another week of battle in the financial war that is raging in the Eurozone. And joining me now from Brussels to talk about the current debt crisis is Bernadette Segol. Very good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
What is there you can do at the moment, do you think, to help alleviate the current situation? Or is it for others?
Quite frankly, I don't think it's up to the unions now to alleviate the situation. The people who are making the situation more difficult are rather governments not taking the right decisions or rating agency making things more difficult. That's where the decisions have to be made. Trade unions are not doing anything to exacerbate the situation. It's rather on that side that we have to look.
And what about the trade unions? They do represent the EU's 55,000 public officials, refusing, for instance, to discuss proposal for a 40-hour working week that would save $870 million a year for taxpayers. Is that a good thing to block?
Well, I think you have to start from another point of view. I think that the measures that are imposed on people are simply too much and are not acceptable, socially acceptable. So asking people to bear the brunt of all these crises is not the right way forward. And no one should be surprised that you have reactions from trade unions when their members are affected. So, it's always the same. It's rescuing the banks and then asking people, normal people who have nothing to do with the crisis, to bear the brunt of the problem. So reaction there should be, discussions there should be also, but these reactions are not surprising at all.
Who specifically do you blame for this current situation? Or do you think there's a sort of vast inclement cloud over us all? Or are there specific... Do you blame the employers? Do you blame the bankers? Who do you blame?
Well, I think, first of all, we have to look at the financial sector. The financial sector is at the origin of all these crises in 2008. And then, as a domino effect, we had the crisis of the sovereign debt and the credit agency making things even worse. And then we have the problem that in Europe, the governments are not taking the right decisions. They are going simply for austerity and no measures for growth. So it's a sort of chain that is there. But at the beginning, it's certainly financial sector. We need to have a financial sector which is controlled, which is transparent. And then we have to take the necessary decision in Europe. Solidarity decision, economic solidarity decisions are necessary to get out of this crisis. This is what the European Trade Union Confederation has been saying for years, including the Eurobonds, including a financial transaction tax, including the end of tax havens. That's where the origin of the crisis is. And we've got to look at the origin instead of asking people to pay the price for it.
Are you worried about a domino effect in Europe where employment laws, civil, social rights, that all of these things start to be encroached upon?
Oh yes, we are very, very worried about that. And we also believe that there is a general attack on our social model. And it's not very often the measures that are taken are also an excuse to liberalize, privatize, flexibilize the workforce and diminish social protection. And indeed, there is a big risk that there will be a domino effect on the social model, and the ETUC is certainly very determined to fight against that.
Because at the same time, there are lots of references to the growing sense of anomie, I think is the French word for it, or we'd say alienation, I guess, that's being felt throughout Europe. How can that be combated, or really only by solving the overall problem and then the anomie will go away?
Well, I think decisions have to be taken. If people, real people, normal people, see that Europe is just not moving to take the right decision, then of course they are discouraged. And that's what is happening. And the consequence is that we have more nationalist feeling, more populist feeling, which are very worrying. We do not believe that this is the solution. We do not believe that returning to national borders is the solution, but we are not seeing the right thing coming up. And therefore people are anemic, as you said, or discouraged. And so we have to see the light out of the tunnel. We are asking for the proper political leadership so that we can see we have perspective for the future. Not only us, but young people. I mean, we have in some countries 40%, over 40% of young people unemployed. On average, we have 20% in Europe. How do you want these people to support this project if something is not done for employment and for them?
Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks again there to Bernadette. Last week, an independent stock market trader, by name Alessio Rastani, appeared on a UK news channel to discuss the state of the financial markets. The following day, the video went viral, making him an internet sensation. Was he an honest but brutal money man or a devious hoaxer? The speculation was intense. Was it his bold statement, for instance, that Goldman Sachs rules the world? Or that as a trader himself he confessed to going to bed every night dreaming of a recession? And was he surprised, as we were, by the overnight stardom that hit him? Well, let's find out now, because he's here right now. Alessio Rastani is here. Well, welcome, welcome. Did it take you by surprise, this fame?
Absolutely. I'll be honest, I mean, for one moment, I didn't think it was going to be controversial. I thought it was news to everybody that, what I said was true. Mm. And I never thought, nobody's going to pay attention to this interview anyway. So, yeah, it was a huge surprise. Because my purpose was, that this, when I said I'm dreaming of a recession, what I meant was dreaming of a market going down and profiting from it. What I meant was this shouldn't be just for people like me and traders in the city. This should be for everybody. Everybody should be able to learn, and I'm happy to help people to learn how to do that.
But when you said you were dreaming of a recession, it would have been a nightmare if you'd been against it, wouldn't it? I mean, dreaming of a recession means you want a recession, doesn't it?
What I really meant, Sir David, was I'm dreaming of a market, a downward market.
Right.
Okay? I did not mean, the way it was misinterpreted, that I'm looking forward to people losing money in their pension and their jobs. It's not what I meant. I'm looking forward to a downward market, which just means something different, if I could explain.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
But you mean a down, not that, but more that. Yeah?
No, actually, I do mean a plunge.
Right, right.
Why? Well, you see, a lot of folks, understandably, think a downward market is a bad thing. But as history has shown, the 30s depression made some people millionaires and very wealthy because they knew what to do when the markets go down. It happened also in the recession of 2008. Why is a downward market a good thing? It's a good thing for two reasons, well, maybe three. There's a phrase in Wall Street, Sir David, that says markets will take the staircase up, but they ride the elevator down. It just means the markets will go faster on the way down. And the way I see it is, you know, you can make money in any direction. And not many people know that. You can make money when markets go up. You can make money when markets go down. Okay. So if you know how to make money downwards, right, and because you can make money faster, it's very attractive. The other reason why that's attractive is because an unstable economy in a recession creates trends. Well, it creates volatility, and that creates a trending market, which means markets will move decisively in one direction. And again, that's very attractive to traders who want to trade. I think probably the most important reason why a recession is a good thing is because it makes the prices of a lot of assets cheaper for people to buy. So,
but when you were saying something like the trader thing, for instance,
right,
the point is that what you're saying there is that traders can do well with things going down.
I'm saying,
but average people?
Yes, they can.
Do they have the ability to do so?
Absolutely.
The contacts, the phone numbers, or whatever.
This is the thing. It's not rocket science. Making money downwards is not rocket science. And people think, oh, it's difficult, it's hard. It can be risky if you don't know what. I'm not saying people should gamble. Definitely not. But what I am saying is there are very simple strategies out there that I use, that people who I teach. In fact, I've been doing it for 5 years now. You know, there are simple strategies out there, and I'm willing to help people and teach them. I'm doing it already on my blog, as to how people can actually profit from a falling market.
And get prepared is what you said. Baden-Powell, be prepared. This is get prepared. How do people do that? How do they get prepared?
Well, the first thing people have to do is give up this idea, this notion that the governments and the leaders out there are going to solve this crisis. This is my point. This is what I'm trying to get out there. The message was, look, we've been waiting and hearing this message that the governments are going to sort things out, that they had this rescue plan. As long as we keep depending on our leaders and the banks, who don't really have a solution to this crisis, we're always going to be in this problem, and it's going to be risky. If you wait and you wait, it's going to be too risky.
But if the traders are trading in order to come out when the thing has gone down, the market's gone down, their very action of if they're going short on things or whatever would increase the downhill ride.
Maybe, absolutely. So the point is, though, what I was really trying to get out there is, if we're going to have a financial crisis, and it certainly looks that way, if the markets are going to go down, this is not a time right now to sit and wait, see what happens, and hope things are going to get better. My ruling principle has always been, prepare for the worst, but hope for the best.
Thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. In a minute, actress Tara Fitzgerald and soldier turned novelist Andy McNabb, after this break.